people think we spend a lot of money in marketing. We do guerrilla marketing.
I mean, I wouldn't think that you guys spend that much on marketing. I think that you guys do a lot of marketing, which is very different.
True. Very well
Y
said.
yeah, you guys market yourselves a lot. You put yourself out there. Everyone in the company, in a sense, almost everyone in the company puts themselves out there. I mean, the people that I deal with, at least, you put yourself out there. You're on social media, and yeah, that's why it looks like you guys spend a lot of marketing, but it's really doing. Welcome to Conversations with Ami, where honest conversations about growth, decision, and direction happen. I'm your host, Ami Morgenstern. On this podcast, I sit down with people responsible for growth and decision making inside growing businesses to talk through where they are right now, where they're trying to go, and what might be getting in their way. The goal isn't to have perfect answers, it's to think clearly, challenge ideas, and leave with better direction. Today, I'm joined by Hershy Goldstein, CEO of Friday. Let's get into it. So, Hershey, why don't you start by introducing yourself to the audience and telling them what you do?
Sure. First of all, thank you, Ami, for bringing me on. I'm very excited to be here. I'm also nervous, but I'm also excited. So my name is Hershy Goldstein. I'm the CEO, co-founder of Friday. This is my primary company that I invest all my energy in. Friday is a small business platform to help pay employees, track time. We do time tracking and payroll. I also do business coaching. I help fellow business owners, mainly on mindset and goal setting and growth and execution on the goals. That's basically what I do. I also have another company that I run on the side, a small company, but yeah, that's it.
So, what's your Friday's your main is occupying most of your day right now. What's your role at Friday as CEO, and like what does that look like on a day to day?
So it changes every 3 to 6 months, honestly, as the company evolves and as the company grows, my role changes. When I started out, my role was to do customer service. That's what I did. I ran operations. I was doing taxes. I was doing everything and anything that I needed to do. Currently, my main hat that I'm currently wearing is finance. I cover the bank. I run the reports. I make sure that we're profitable. We make money. Finance 100% me. Um, I'm the visionary. I set the goals like what are we going to work on this month? Where's the company going? And I that's my main role. Now on a day to day, I'm busy with product. I'm very involved in product because these are things that I want to be involved in. I want to be involved in my product. I believe the product is what the customer interacts most of the time. I'm very involved in operations, like with my manager, but not on a day to day basis. I don't talk to customers on a day to day basis. I might talk every day to one or two customers, but I'm not talking to 20, 30, 40 customers. And I'm involved in marketing and helping pejas. But those are not my core responsibilities.
And how do you usually explain to someone that doesn't know what Friday does? Like how does Friday what does Friday do? And especially someone that may not know exactly all the ins and outs of payroll.
Sure. So in America, if you pay an employee, you have to pay taxes. You have to make sure the taxes are paid on time. You have to first calculate what's the percent and amount you have to pay. And that depends on a lot of different variables. It depends how often you pay them. It depends how if the marriage is single, and it depends in which state they live and which state they work in. Um, So we develop a software that does that calculation for you automatically. It pays the employee, meaning we will debit the company's bank account and pay it out to the employees. We'll also make sure we pay the IRS and all the other people that need to get paid, the other agencies, and do the quarterly, yearly filings, provide W-2s, etc. On top of that, at the core, that's what a payroll company does. And that's what every payroll company does. We have 300 competitors. That's not a chiddush. On top of that, we also do time tracking, which means your employees, if you use us for payroll, you get free included time tracking. You can clock in and clock out, GPS location, job costing, and all of that. Um, what we brought to the payroll world that wasn't there before was we tried to, we brought we made payroll human again. We made it simple, easy to digest, with a very, very core focus on small businesses. Like we don't have companies that are not small businesses unless they say, "Hey, we might have 300." We have like a few clients that have like 400 employees. They said, "I know you're for bigger companies. I need a simple product." Happens to be I have a lot of employees, but my company's run like a small business owner. So if the goal fits, we're gonna accept you. You know, we're not gonna
Right.
reject you. But we noticed that there's a problem in the payroll industry. Payroll industry is a penny business. Average company pays me Friday's bill is less than their phone bill, right? Now, how can you make a living of that? Like, you pay me $90 a month. If the cost of goods and commission, everything goes up, there's almost no money left. So how can you make a living of that? So because of that, most of our competitors, 97% of our competitors focuses on the big dogs, focuses on healthcare, home care, manufacturing, where people have 100,000 employees, a bill is $100,000 a month. And over there, there's a big profit to make. Um, Business and I, when we sat down and we started imagining the vision for the company, we were like, listen, true, you can make faster and easier money by focusing on the big companies, but it's a much, much more difficult sell and you don't have a competitive advantage. We're going to go on the small companies. However, there's a challenge. How are you going to make money? So what we figured out is what I watch Pinchas do in his old job is we're going to leverage social media. We have to bring down our client acquisition costs to be much slower than what the client acquisition cost is for bigger companies. And we have to make sure the companies come to us. And if we can do that at scale, then we can make money and also stay true to our vision. So the question is, why would small businesses come to us when they can go to the other bigger companies? So for that, we created a product that makes it very simple, easy to use, that's designed for small businesses. So what is the difference between a small business and a big business? Very simple. A small business owner, think about the electrician, think about the bookkeeper, think about you, Ami, right? You, your main thing that you focus on is to give finances, to give advice, to bookkeep. I'm not going to talk for you. I'm going to let you tell your audience. But
Yeah.
the point is, payroll is like 1% of the time that you do, but it's also something that you have to do. Think about your plumber electrician. It's something he has to do. The word IRS scares him. Taxes scare him. He doesn't want to know about it. So now he's signing up to this big ADP or whatever other company name you want to put in there. And he's getting a tractor trailer that somebody with 5,000 employees or 500 employees is running. And that person has an HR guy and a payroll guy and a controller and a CFO. And everybody's using that payroll product. And everybody's using it for a different way, different purpose. And he's coming, it's like, I have my 3 employees. Can I pay my employees? Like, so we decided if we are able to focus only on the small businesses, we can then make a product that's only for them. And yes, there will be people that will not come to us because specific features we don't like, and we lose clients and we say no to clients every day. But we're looking at the big picture, and so far it's working.
Yeah, and like you mentioned what I do, so I'll say that what I tell my clients when I tell them to use Friday is, everyone else tells you what they do have. Friday tells you what they don't have, and it makes it a lot easier to actually go and buy because I know that if you have health insurance integrations that you need to your payroll, Friday's just not a match. So it's very easy actually to find the ICP because you have it right away. Because it's simplified, it actually brings a lot more benefits that you might have not even thought about when starting to target that. You know,
First of all,
um,
I really like the way you framed it. Like, f- uh, you said Friday focuses on what they don't have, and it brings out what they do have because they say what they don't have.
yeah,
It's very well said. Number two, Friday will have insurance integrations in 2026, Seattle Ishmael, because there's a lot of people that are requesting it, even in the small employers. So we are
right.
working on that. Number three, I find, and I wonder if you find this as well with your clients, I find that a lot of business owners are afraid to choose a lane because they're afraid they're going to lose out. Meaning, it's very hard for us to say a lot of times, hey, we service 1 to 50 employees because we get a lot of feedback from clients. What do you mean? I have 60 employees, so I can't service you? And we have to say, let me see what you want. What are the features you want? Maybe we could, maybe we can't. And I feel like a lot of business owners can benefit from this if they can just say clearly, this is my ideal client, and I'm ready to lose everybody else because my ideal client is worthy enough and valuable enough to me for me to service him, and I can make money, and he'll be happy for my service.
Right, and I think also, as you pointed out earlier, like your ideal client is who you're targeting because that's who your product fits best, right? If someone has more than 50 employees, Friday may be able to work, but not necessarily. Under 50 employees, Friday should be able to work. And that's really so when you choose a target audience, when you choose an industry, right? Like I tell people I do bookkeeping for constructions and service-based businesses. That doesn't mean that I don't have e-commerce companies. It doesn't mean that I don't have different industries. It's just those are the people that I service best. So I'm gonna go and target those people. Now, if something opens up and I service other industries, well, I might introduce that as my ICP grows, right? The IC as a company grows, you grow your ICP as well because you could service more.
Right,
So that's really the way that I see it. And I do think that, Friday has done a really good job with actually marketing what they don't offer, and
right,
that really, it's what made me go for Friday. It really, because for me, I was always looking to simplify it for my clients, and Friday really does that. I can tell from one of my clients, which they were using one of your competitors, no one was clocking in. Even as simple as the time tracking was simplified in a sense where when we switched over to Friday, everyone's clocking in and out. So it's really done with the user in mind, and that's really what I like. So obviously, growing a company is something that's not for the faint of heart, right? What do you think drives you to actually go out there and build something rather than, I'm pretty sure you had a very well paying position before you started Friday. So like what's the drive?
when I started out my career, I was a very pro W-2. I was like in the W-2 camp. Get yourself a good position, be the number one employee in a company. You get a good salary. They can't get rid of you because you're bringing so much value. And I still believe that that's still true. And I was very, 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 very pro that. I had family members that supported me in that, and I did very well. Um, but it didn't last. After like 7, 8 years, it's just things plateaued. I'm a builder. I'm a high energy person. I like to constantly have challenges that or problem solve or make changes and like the regular ADHD person that I'm sure you can relate. And I run on high energy, and there's more to the story. I don't know if you want to go into the whole story now how I left, but if yes, you can ask me more. But at some point, I had the golden handcuffs. I couldn't leave. I couldn't leave my company. I was making nice money and I was happy at a respectful position, but I was miserable. I wasn't happy. I wasn't making, I wasn't making an impact. I didn't feel like I'm living my true self, that I'm reaching my potential, and I knew I had to leave, but I couldn't see myself leave. It was like I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Baruch Hashem helped that my boss didn't let me go on a vacation. That really pissed me off. And he later said he made a mistake, and it's true. It just happened. He was a very nice boss. He treated me very well, but it just happened. I got pissed, and
Right.
I said, "I'm out of here." Um, and that started a whole new journey, a journey of self discovery, a journey of so many different angles, a journey of spiritual journey, a journey of relying on yourself, meaning trusting yourself and your abilities, your capabilities. Um, and once I left, I knew one thing for sure: I'm never becoming a W-2 employee again. I knew that so strongly, and I was tested on it because I didn't open Friday only like 2 years after I left my job, or maybe even longer. I'm very not good with the time and dates, but I'm like a flow person, maybe even longer than 2 years. I think it was more like 3 years. Um, so there were times that I didn't know I'm going to open Friday. I didn't know what I'm going to do. I did consulting, did other things, and there was my wife always kept pushing me like, okay, how are we going to put bread on the table? Maybe you take a good, well-paying job. And I really had to double down, said, "No, I'm not going." How are you gonna figure it out? I said, "I'll figure it out. I don't know how I'm gonna figure it out. Well, we'll figure it out. I know I'm not made for that." Um, and one thing led to another. I met my partner Pinchas, I met my partner Martin, and we started building Friday. And then once we started building Friday, I remember the journey went like this. First, there was the vision. We had every day 15-minute phone calls, and we planned and we executed. We helped each other accountable, and there was this pump, this high. We raised money and all of that. And then we got the first customer, and then everything went like this, like, oh, nothing's working. And then the second customer, third customer. So it was a constant dance. And I remember having days where I was high. We're taking it to the moon. It's $1 billion company. This thing is going to take off. And then having months where I was like, I couldn't see. I saw black. All I was able to see is all my problems and how long it's taking to get a customer, and the customer's here and it's not happy, and issues with this employee and that partner. This employee quit, and it was like all I was seeing is black. And but there's nothing much you can do when you're in the black space, by the way, other than accepting and not trying to fight it and showing up and doing what you need to do. But that's part of the reality. Um,
But then there's actually something, speaking of that, there's actually something very interesting that my therapist recently introduced me to, which he says you have to basically stop. Forgot who it's from, but he basically said, you know, drop goals and start changing yourself, because goals, you reach a goal, you didn't change yourself. So you might go back to the old habit. If I say, okay, I'm going to quit cigarettes for 3 months, right? 3 months later, I'm free to go smoke again. I didn't change myself. But
right,
if I don't set a goal and I set systems that I'm not smoking again, I'm going to go to the gym instead, or I'm going to do something else, I'm replacing it with something, or I'm changing myself as a person to stop doing that, then you have a chance of actually being successful in the long term. It's a very interesting thing, because I do agree that when you get into a hard place, again, every business owner I think can relate to this, where especially in the beginning, you start off something and all of a sudden there was that initial high and now there's just a crash. And really you still got to show up and do the work. That's really the thing. I remember I met a friend recently that he had a company, and bumped into him like within a year, and he told me, "Oh, the company's not around." I'm like, What happened?" He's like, "Oh, we made a mistake on one job." I'm like, "You made a mistake on one job and that's it?" Like, that's not that you can't run a company that way. You have to
so I
take that.
closed.
That's not even a mistake. It's a lesson. Like, of course you're gonna make a mistake on the first job, you know? So it's something. It was actually like I didn't bump into that in a while, because I wasn't there in a while already, and the people that I'm around are also very, strong. We're doing this. Like, a lot of my people that I have around me, they might not be, monetarily successful, but they have the mindset that you mentioned, which is, I'm not going to get a W-2 and I'm going to figure this out. So having those people around me actually, gives me a part of that mindset. Again, I'm not against W-2s. I tell people that I build my company so my employees can make a nice living. If they make a nice living, if I have an employee making $500,000 a year, I'm making a lot more than that. So that's really not the goal should actually be to support them, you know? But yeah, you were saying, so as you were going there with Friday, you had you had the ups and the downs.
So I'll tell you, what you said now as being around the right people is very, very helpful. Me, I had my partners, which were really, really a great support for me, and I was a great support for them. Like, the good news is when we were all depressed, that was terrible. But the truth is, I don't think there was ever a time where we were all in a dark place. The way it worked out automatically, when somebody came with dark energy or with negative energy, the other person lifted them up because they understood that their role. But I remember, like, 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, there was a switch. And I remember having a very clear conversation. I remember it was the beginning of the winter after sickest. And I called up my power backers and I told them, listen, we're done. We're not doing depressions anymore. This is not something that we're doing anymore. I'm not your therapist, and you're not my therapist. You're depressed. Go deal with it somewhere else. Here we're doing business. And it may seem a little bit a little bit coming off strong, but what ended up happening is we became each other's support groups, and although we should support each other, we still continue to support each other. You have to understand that your partner or your boss or your colleague is not your therapist. Period. It's not your therapist. It's not your.
Right.
They can guide you from a CEO perspective, but everybody in this company has their own self interest. I have my self interest. Pekka has their self interest, and if I will be your coach and your guide, it will not come from a healthy, objective way. It will come from a place where what works for me. That ends up being very toxic, and it's also not good for the company at all.
Right, it's actually
Um,
funny that you mentioned a switch. I remember I had a switch with my partner when I don't know if you remember, we were at some coaching event. It was like this 1 day coaching event. They were doing like a pitch, and they asked people to fill out their goals for 2025. This was like December of 2024. And there were there was like a nice amount of companies there, right? But there were two companies that it took them a few minutes because we had it down already. We knew how to discuss things. The rest of the people, like, they came over to me like,
I
"Do you
don't. I
guys need
think I
help?"
was there with you
Yeah, yeah,
in
that's
that
what I'm saying.
course.
Friday was there with us, and like Friday and my company, we were just sitting there schmoozing for most of the time because the other people were taking like 20 minutes to figure out how to talk to the other person in their company, versus like we already had that relationship with our partners to really be able to have tough conversations and also because we know that we can figure things out quickly, which is really that's when I realized it at that event, and then there was a switch that went off. I'm like, "Oh, I have something." There's something that we have that obviously other companies don't just have. To me, I was looking at it like, okay, if I have it, must be other people have it better. The grass always greener on the other side. That like flipped the switch and said, no, the grass actually greener on my side, and I'm happy the decisions I'm making are actually good. So it's interesting that you're talking about that switch because that's when I had it, like around that time, like in December of 2024.
Yeah.
So right now, what drives you?
Right now, I'm
What
sorry.
drives you right now? We heard about like
Sure.
the
It's a
beginning of Friday,
very
but
good question. So I'm gonna answer it, but with a story. Um, One of the first people I met uh, was a guy. I don't know if he wants me to mention his name. I'll mention it anyways. Was a guy named Abe Horowitz. He's a Hasidische venture capitalist. Very quiet, but he invested in a lot of startups. He knows the game well. And I was going out with this vision to build a multi-billion dollar company. I want to build a startup. I want to raise money. And nobody that I know did that. And so I reached out to the people that I think that can do that. And a lot of people were helpful. A lot of people weren't helpful. He was one of the people that are helpful. And until today, I still include him in my investor updates. So I had a conversation with him, and the first conversation I had with him, he asked me, "So why are you building Friday?" And I started telling him the vision. We're going to make an impact the small business owners. We're going to make payroll easy to use. He said, "Shut, cut the crap. Why are you building Friday?" So then I went again with my vision. He said, "You're building Friday. You want to make money. Next, that's the truth." And I started arguing with him back and forth. After the meeting, I was thinking about it, and that this it's very, very true. Brands and companies are very busy saying, "I'm here. I want to help my employees. I want to make change the world. I want to change my community." The only person you can change is yourself, and you like yourself a lot, and you want to live a good life. That's why you built a company, so people buy you stuff, so you can make money and go on the vacation, or buy a house, or make nice weddings, or whatever ticks your back. So buy investments. That's why. So that's what drives me. Now that we've established that, there's other things that make it worthwhile, that bring me excitement. Because just money, you're just a slave. You're just putting bricks on top of bricks. You're just selling your time for money. There's no purpose in that. There's no excitement. There's no joy. There's no meaning. So I'm doing this for money, and I'm very clear about that. For all everybody that comes to work for me knows that, and there's no sugarcoating because I believe anybody that tries to make it anything other than money, you're just being irrealistic and toxic, in my opinion. Um, that being said, the joy and the purpose I get is from watching my employees grow. We hire newbies as salespeople. All of them were people raw, no sales experience. Some of them no business experience. Some of them that barely knew any English. And we watch them coming in from zero to starting posting on LinkedIn, starting going on making videos, talking to professionals, to accountants, to bookkeepers, talking to clients, signing up clients, becoming a team player within the internal team, talking to the remote employees, talking to the non-Jewish employees. It's very, very beautiful to watch people grow. And that always is something that's in my DNA. I like to watch myself grow. I like to watch people grow. I like to help grow. This is what drives my coaching. Like this is why I'm into that too. So that's one thing that really, really excites me. The second thing is actually I would say after finance, which is I'm very involved in the company. The number two thing that I really like doing in the company, and I did it in my old job as well, is product development. I'm not a physical programmer, but I really like to work with the designers and the developers and designing a feature that really, when you sometimes go into a product and you see that thing, oh, they have this, this works. Oh, that was so easy. It makes me excited. It
Yeah.
brings out joy to me to develop good products for my users. Um,
Yeah, so I wanna challenge something. You said that it's all about money, right? I think that what I heard from you is that if there was no money, the other missions wouldn't necessarily matter, right? But
no,
you
I did
chose
not say
but
that.
you chose things. No, no, listen. You basically said that it's all about money, right? That at the core, what you want to do, what drives you is the money, right?
Yes.
But you have all these other things that sort of let's say there's a target of money, then there's circles around it, right? Watching employees grow, building a product, dealing with the actual finance, which obviously is related to the money part. Now, the way that I see it, right,
Mm.
is let's say for myself, and could be I'm just polishing it up, but I see my mission, right, as I believe I could be doing 10 different things and I'll still make money, right? So money is not the core of my is not the center, right? The center is whatever I do. Money automatically comes if you have a serious mission, right? And I think that this comes with a lot of inventors. Like, in a previous episode, I spoke to someone that mentioned the pizza boxes with the that the table that goes into the pizza boxes, right? And the inventor that he mentioned it like as a whatever, something like stupid and minuscule, and the guy was just doing it to make money, and I challenged him, no, I think the guy like actually had a mission to get pizzas delivered with the cheese on the pizza, and he's successfully done that to millions and millions of pizza, right? He's successfully delivered millions of pizzas with the cheese on it, so because the box didn't fall in, and with that comes money. When you make an impact, right? With impact comes money. You're not going to make an impact and not have money.
Okay,
You
so this is
rarely
a
see
very,
that.
very philosophical thing that we can go into it, and I would love to go into it. So instead of arguing, I would rather like to understand your point of view better before we can even
Yeah, no, I'm
go.
saying that my mission, right? The thing that I
One
put at the
second, let me ask
center
you.
is not
Let me
necessarily
ask you a
money.
question, a particular question, if you don't mind. When you say I can do anything and make money, what does that mean? Can you explain that to me?
That means
What do you mean
that
you can
means
do
that if I
anything?
put so I'll explain it. Not that I could do anything. Whatever I would choose to do, right? Whether it be owning a construction company, whether it be starting something, I believe myself in the ability to deliver things. Okay, like sort of, when you call like bringing a vision to life, right? That's really what it is, making an impact. And I believe I could make an impact, and money will come with that. Like I don't need
True, but
to
the
be
question
too
is,
focused on it.
would you make an impact on something that wouldn't make you money?
No,
So
no,
exactly.
that's what I'm saying.
So if you wouldn't, so
I'm
you
saying
wouldn't do
money is
anything.
definitely one of the circles. I'm saying like
No,
if you have a
because if you
target,
take the
right?
money factor away, would you still do it?
No,
So
but
then money is the number one
but if
thing.
you take the impact factor away and only have the money, I also wouldn't do it.
True,
That's what
but
I'm saying.
I'm not so sure about that because I'll explain you why. Of course, you need to. First of all, at the core, if anything you do, I agree. I think we're agreeing at the core. We're just
Yeah.
framing it differently. Of course, impact
No,
is the thing
what
that
I'm saying
drives you,
is,
excites you, but that's not really why you're doing what you're doing. What you're doing is because you want to make money. Happens to
yeah.
be you're finding also purpose and meaning in that, which is great, and not only great because that's how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to find purpose and meaning.
Right.
You wouldn't now start a construction company because there's nothing in it for you
Right,
there.
but what I'm saying is, you mentioned that the reason why you're doing it, right? But I would argue that, in your previous roles, you might have been making money, but it didn't have the impact feeling for you, right? You weren't making as big of an impact, so you left that. Meaning to say, money is not the reason you're doing it. Impact automatically, if you create an impact, you'll have money. Money comes with impact, so you don't have to be like, I'm doing this for money. No, I'm doing this because I'm making an impact. It makes me feel good. Happens to be, I wouldn't do, because I can make an impact in multiple different ways. I'm not just going to
Very
make an
good question
impact. I'm
because
also
you
going
can
to make
argue this
money.
the other way, the same way.
Yeah.
If you stop making money, would you still continue making an impact?
So the question, that's a good question, right? And the
So I
answer is,
think
I'd
both
most
the
probably
answers
look
are
to make
no.
it that right. Both of the answers are no, but I would say that with the impact, it depends what you mean by not making money anymore, and it also depends if
Simply,
what
nobody
kind of
wants to pay
impact
you
that is.
anymore.
Like, there's a lot of people that open organizations that make huge impacts that don't necessarily make money on it anymore, right? In the beginning, they might be making some. There's a salary always there in
Somebody
organizations,
makes money. There's
but
no
yeah,
organization that doesn't
but
make money. There isn't
mm,
somebody that makes
yeah,
money.
no, I'm saying there are salaries out there, but I'm saying the actual founder of the organization might not necessarily, continue making money, but they'll stay involved,
So those are
right? So
philanthropists. Those are people that are already making usually enough money to live their life where money's not anymore an aspect, and
right,
then
and
they
that's
do
why
philanthropy.
that's why I
So
think that impact is a
because
bigger
when you're
thing.
not making money, or when you need money, or when you're less than whatever your lifestyle is, then money becomes the number one thing that you want to do. But the second you are past that, there's other things, other towers that
Yeah.
a person wants in life. Some of them is COVID and respect. Other ones is impact, making an impact. But essentially, all of that comes back to self-interest. Why do you want to make an impact? Because you want to feel good.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not disagreeing that it's a self-interested thing. I just think that from what I heard from you is really not that money is only really is in a sense secondary to you. Meaning, say it comes, obviously you need to make money on this. If you're gonna invest your entire day in something, you need to make money off of it. But you also need the impact just as much, I would argue. Because yeah,
True.
maybe for the first, whatever amount it will satisfy you, right? Money is first, but after a certain number, money doesn't come first anymore. It's purely the impact that'll drive you, and that's why I think and that's what I was trying to say. Now,
There's
obviously,
one
building
core
Friday,
point I want to add to this conversation, I
yeah,
think, which will bring a very interesting point of view. In everyone's day to day in the business, there are parts of the business that you don't enjoy. In other words, you're not really making an impact. You're still doing it. Why are you still doing it? Because it's required for you. So there's two reasons. Why? Because one, because you need it to make money. The other reason is because if you don't do that, you can't really make the impact. So I
right.
think what we come from that is to say that if you take away the meaning or the impact in the direct thing, you still will do it if it makes you money. Or
To a
if
certain
it brings you
extent,
something else, it brings you some type of benefit. But if you take away the money, usually people will not. Or for someone it's money, for someone it's something else. So yeah,
it's
that's
a
it.
self benefit. I think at the
It's
core,
the self
and I
benefit.
like that
What the self
distinction.
benefit is,
Yeah,
that doesn't really matter. Yeah,
right.
true.
And I
For
think that
items,
money
for
and
someone it's money,
money
for someone it's somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that money definitely plays a role in it. I'm not arguing that. I don't think most people would spend their day, not making money. So let's move on to the next part. Obviously, growing a business, a lot of people see the beauty of it, right? Oh, he's driving a nice car, or look how many customers he has, look how many people are talking good about his business. There's also problems in every business.
Yes.
What has been a significant issue that you've dealt with that you can share with the audience, and how did you handle it?
All right. Significant issue. I'm trying to think. We have so many issues every day. Um,
Yeah, you're building a software.
Building a
So it's
software. Exactly.
yeah.
we just had the issue a couple days ago, a minor issue. We sent out W-2s, the W-2s are ready, and we sent out the email to employees that don't have a W-2 yet for whatever reason. Let's say they started in 2026 and they're supposed to get an email. Everybody started sending, "Oh, what are you talking about? W-2? I'm not getting a W-2 for it." I think that so
How did you guys handle that?
minor issues like this doesn't doesn't get to me anymore at this stage of the company. Why? Because it's part of life. It's like you're gonna wake up and you're gonna fall down and you're gonna get yourself up. You get dirty, you change shirts. It's
Right,
like Shlomo Melech had the ring, Gamzi Yaver. Yeah, like this too shall pass. Like, it's not the end of the world. I've learned that most of the problems that you have in your company is not the end of the world. Period. It's just not.
right.
We had a big customer um, that left us. Actually, they didn't leave us. We had a big customer. We're talking a big customer. Like for us, it was a big customer. It was like $40,000 a year in billing, and the average company bus is like $1,500 a year in billing. Um, they had issues in the bank, and our bank said that we can't service you anymore because they NSF'd a lot. They had a very bad credit score, so we had to tell the customer, unfortunately, we can't service you anymore. We'll be very happy to let you go, to help you go to transition to a different company, but Friday cannot service you. And there was a lot of heat. The salespeople started crying by the commission. You should find a different bank, start doing it a different way. And the customer started giving us heat. All of a sudden, he throwing us away. And I got heat because I'm losing $40,000. It's a lot of money.
Yeah,
But guess what? It's 3 months later. We already refilled the revenue with from other places. I don't know. Don't ask me how. But you moved on. I dealt with it the same way I deal with all problems. You don't, as a CEO of a company, again, when you, in the beginning, when you are very, very, very much involved in every day to day and you're struggling for survival, doesn't apply to you because you can't, because you're so in it and you can't really remove yourself. Um, but eventually you want to get to a place where you are kind of looking at it from the outside. And yeah, there's an issue. Clients leave, but at the same time, there was 5 customers that signed up that day, and certain punches hurt more. Certain, you got to duck it and you got to fight back and you got to do what you got to do. But nothing is going to put me out of business. The only thing that's going to put me out of business is if God decides to put me out of business, or something happens in the market. Like
I would
nobody.
say if you decide to put yourself out of business sometimes,
Exactly.
that's really, I see that all the time where people just, they start making, they freak out. Let's say with this $40,000 client, you could have freaked out and made a short-term decision. Oh, we're switching banks. That's it. And now you don't know what other problems is going to come up from that bank switching, but you know,
Exactly.
and 3 months later, you find yourself completely screwed because you switch banks. Rather than keeping a relationship, it's something that really makes a big difference to the way you guys operate and, continues with the long-term vision. And it's something that I see all the time. Like there's like a lot of short-term thinking that really destroys businesses. And if you go into a pattern of just short-term thinking after short-term thinking, it's very hard to climb out of it because all of a sudden you find yourself in a really tough pickle, and it's really something that I see all the time, and it's something that I try to preach as much as possible is think long term. Don't think about your money today. Think about it tomorrow. Like I tell people today, I don't mind making less money. Tomorrow, I want 2 houses. That's what I tell people because that's the way that I see it. Like, if I just live for today, like for myself, yeah, okay, that makes sense, right? Because I don't know if I'll be around tomorrow, but as a business, my business is supposed to outlast me. And that's really, you have to make the decisions in order for it to be able to outlast you. So, is there a pattern or a habit that you feel like is holding you back?
Pattern or a habit that I feel like is holding me back? It's a very, very deep question that we gotta first see what what I would like to be more that I can't achieve. So I tell you what what I would want to accomplish in 2026. I want to triple our revenue in 2026.
Okay. So
Very,
let's
very
say,
big ambitious goal.
yeah, and in order to triple your revenue, what would have to happen? What would that look like for Friday?
So there's two things that need to happen. Three things actually. First, we need to double the amount of salespeople. And turns out recruiting the sales is very difficult. So actually doing our campaign, probably by the time this airs, you'll already see it. Pinchas is making a video that is going to be sent out to all his contacts, maybe in paid promotion, where he's going to pitch Friday to the right salespeople, to the people to apply. We're also very picky. It's not that we don't have applicants. It's just we want to hire the top 5% of the workforce. And we have a very rigorous way of doing that. Um, so that's number one. That's going to have to happen. We need to double the size of the team. We now have four salespeople. We need to get four other salespeople. In addition, we need to open a new department called inside sales. So which we have a lot of incoming leads, which right now is distributed to all the salespeople. We want to create another channel just for inside leads, so the outside sales people can focus more on bringing in new sales. So that's a separate department, a separate process that we need to set up. Um, in addition, we want to start focusing on email marketing, affiliated marketing, all those things, all the outbound marketing channels that we haven't touched yet. So we can bring up our inbound channel to be equivalent, or at least at 50% to what our outside salespeople are doing. It's a big jump to triple revenue with the stage where we are, where we're signing up over 100 clients a month, which means we have to sign up 300 clients a month. Um,
Technically a bit more because, it's almost past January already.
yeah,
So,
exactly, exactly. So we had a goal that by February 1, we're gonna have a new team. We failed, so we have now a new goal, March 1. Um, I guess we just have to figure out how to hire at scale right now. That's really the number one challenge that we haven't figured out yet.
right. And I think also, like, it's interesting that you say that, but I think that, focusing on the top 5% of workforce, right, is like a very good idea in a sense, but it's not realistic. You know, I think that when you do that, it will take you a lot longer to find because you're looking for 5% of the population. You're not looking for, you know. So I think finding out for you, figuring out where do I need the top 5%? Where don't I need the top 5%? Right? Like
Well, I only
I'll
need
break
top
it down for you,
5% in sales.
and you don't need that in product development.
We're good in product development. The only people we need to hire right now, product development, we have a good team. We have already the
Yeah,
top 5%. We
you're
already
saying
have our
over there you're
top
set already.
we're
Yeah.
settled. Operations, we have the top people.
Right.
We have everywhere the
But
top
let's say
people.
inbound sales, you need top 5%?
No,
No.
I just need a
Like
good person that
I've
is
worked
able
with
to.
software companies, like
Yeah, I don't need top
they don't have
5%.
top 5%. Yeah, especially not on
Correct.
inbound because that means that I'm
Correct.
already looking at Friday. I want to work for Friday. I'm already sold. You just need someone to show them how to use it
Correct.
and set
Correct.
them
No,
up.
I don't need top
So
5%. Just need a regular guy for $60,000, $50,000 a year
yeah,
to just being able to close sales. Someone like that should
yeah.
be able to sign up 75 to 100 clients a month at full capacity, not from day one, but full
Yeah,
capacity.
but as you do the email marketing, you need a team in order to start implementing the other parts. So that's really that would be an ambitious thing to set up even in 6 months. I think to set up a full team like that could take a nice while because you do need to find the right people. A lot of them will come in, leave,
Yeah.
because they. So that's interesting. So you obviously have to build up the sales. Is there anything on the operational end that also needs to change in order for you to triple the revenue?
So at operational, we already put in motion a lot of changes. But Hashem, things are going very well. So right now, our director of operations is technically our level 2 and our level 3 support as well. So he's constantly busy um, shutting fires, or closing fires, or turning off fires. And we made a plan. I sat with him last week, how we're going to transition from that role to being more of the director of operations role, where you make sure you have your people under you that solve the problems. And you're more like the project manager and oversee system and operations. So what we set in motion is that basically I'm going to coach him and guide him we can talk once a week, and every week we will set small goals for the week. What's the next step to do? What's the next step to do? So that's what we're doing right now. The first step was last week was to sit with his supervisor that he wants to promote and promote her and give her guidance. And then we're going to continue monitoring it and do setting KPIs and whatever and
Right.
so on.
To
So it's very beginning of the journey there still.
Yeah, so basically, in order, so operationally, really, you'd have to get a series director of operations to really focus on directing the operations rather than just being part of in it. Right now, it sounds like he's more in it. They say don't work in the business, work on the
Right.
business. He's working more in it, and he
Right.
needs to become more on it.
Correct.
That's again, there's a lot of changes obviously that go on with growing revenue, and I can see the thing. I can see the parallels between what I'm going through now as well. I'm going through a very similar you know very similar situation with our director of operations where like I'm trying to bring him more to work on it, and again he's doing it, but as I become better at sales as well, things all of a sudden get busier again.
Right.
So there's more
It's
fires to
always a
put out.
challenge.
Yeah. So it's really, yeah, exactly. It's balancing scales. So
I tell you one more challenge, which is really that's going to really be the big challenge for this year. I don't know how much would want to share for that, but I'll share it there. Especially this is your specialty. I in 2025 Friday broke even. 2026, even though I want to grow ambitiously, I want to make a profit. I don't want to make a big chunk of profit, and that's been very, very, very big challenge because as founders of the company, we haven't been taking out a normal salary for the first couple of 3 years. We're starting now to take salary, but we're still not at our capacity. So we put in a bonus program as the revenue grows. The founder's salary goes up as well. Um, but we want to get to a place and very, very soon, preferably by Q2, where we're profitable.
yeah, so growing a company is not always profitable, right? And that's the mistake that a lot of people make. It's like, oh, I'll just get my revenue up and I'll be profitable. But if you're really hungry, right, which Friday obviously is, like, yeah, I'll get my I'll become profitable, but now I'm the I have to double my sales team size. I have to build a whole new department. I have to so bring all of those things together and then saying I want to be profitable as well is a very big goal. But I think that's why you said triple and not double. So you have to like double the team size and then, triple the revenue. But it's again, I think that you guys could most probably get even further than that if everything works out, right? Because I know that one of the salesmen shared with me that he wants to sign up 1,000 clients this year. That's an ambitious goal for himself, and he would, that in itself could be a nice revenue boost. So like, and that's from one of the current salesmen already. So
Yeah,
like you have, and knowing the salespeople that you guys have is also you have a very ambitious group of people that actually wanna,
yeah,
understand. They obviously learn from Pinchas a lot, which is like, in sports, there's something called a sponge, someone that learns from the coach. And like the salespeople on Friday, what I see is that they're like sponges. They take in, they learn a lot. They're not just going out there and, oh, I'm doing sales like a lot of people. Like, in a sense, that's the way that I did it. Was just like, oh, I'll learn. But I learned on the job, but I always ask. Like I learned a lot from because like when it comes to sales, he's taught me a lot, and I could just imagine how much he does for a salesman. So I see that happening a lot. Now that would be a challenge to make it profitable. I'd love to see it. I think that that would be a
So
great
I tell you what I did now. Maybe you can. So what I did right now is I reorganized my books. I basically have five main accounts. I have a lot of sub accounts. I have a cost of goods sold and income, obviously, but in expenses I have general operators like I don't know what it's called. If you want, I could pull it real quick
yeah,
up.
operating expenses.
Like general operations includes insurance, CPAs, accountant, bookkeeper, like all the office,
Rent.
all of that. It's some account. I have payroll expenses, which is subdivided by operational payroll, founders pay, and sales, which includes commission. And then I have marketing, which is, by the way, the lowest. People think we spend a lot of money in marketing. We do guerrilla marketing.
I mean, I wouldn't think that you guys spend that much on marketing. I think that you guys do a lot of marketing, which is very different.
True. Very well
Y
said.
like, yeah, you guys market yourselves a lot. You put yourself out there. Everyone in the company, in a sense, almost everyone in the company puts themselves out there. I mean, the people that I deal with, at least, you put yourself out there. You're on social media, and yeah, that's why it looks like you guys spend a lot of marketing, what it's really doing. And I think that's a big mistake and a lot of people make also is they think, oh, we need to have the perfect marketing plan, right? And before that, we're not going to roll anything out. But, this is something that I had with the podcast as well. Like I wanted to have it perfect. So I pushed off my podcast for a year already. Just like, oh, I want to do it. I want to do it. I want to do it. When I can build a studio, I'll do it, and at some point I'm like, it doesn't have to be perfect. The first few episodes, you're not gonna do well either way. Meaning, say, not that I'm not doing well. Like,
Right. You're not going
I,
to do your
I'm not
best.
gonna do my best job either way. I have to learn how to do it. I have to learn how to control the conversation. I have to learn so much. So, doing in itself is a big jump, and that's the biggest hurdle that most people have to overcome when it comes to anything, even when it comes to starting a business. Like, earlier you shared that, you were miserable at the job for a long time till he didn't let you go on vacation. And I don't think it was the vacation. I think you were halfway out the door before then. The vacation was just like what actually is like, okay, I'm going. And I see this like I had a friend that was like to him, he always wanted to go to Oman and he was halfway out the job already either way, and the guy didn't let him go to Oman. He's like, okay, no problem, I'm not coming back. You know? Like it's really so doing it in a sense is the first step, and then you can figure things out. So yes, I really like that. And so in order to turn profitable, right? Like what do you think needs to happen? Obviously, between all these expenses, what do you think
So
needs
I
to
need to
happen?
very simple. I want to have a minimum. Ultimately, my goal is to be at 35% profit margin. But for starters, I will be okay with 50%. And maybe my goal is 20% for this year. But between me and you, if I get to 10, I'll be happy. So 30% is hard costs, period. So you're
Like
left
cost of
with
goods sold.
70%. Huh? Cost of
Like
goods sold,
yeah,
yeah, it's hard cost. So we need to divide the 20% is for profits. So we have another 50% to spend. So we need to divide it by category, like what is each category's benchmark. And I want to monitor it every month. I'll pick one category or maybe multiple categories. The point is to make sure that the expenses stay low. So as Baruch Hashem, our sales team is bringing in sale, that as the sales grows, that number doesn't go up.
right.
And if there's a field that it has to go up, let's say operations tell them, customer service tell them, hey, we need more people. Sorry, we have to figure out what is the issue. It can go up because if we need to hire more people and our current people can't
So
handle it, we either don't have the right people or we don't have the right processes or there's some other problem. Because
right, but
if
there
this
might
business,
also be an issue of let's say like let's say you need one customer service rep per every 1,000 accounts, right? If you get to 2,000 accounts, you need a second customer service rep, right? So like really figuring that part out, I think would be very helpful to figuring out the profit. Meaning say, yeah, I can know all my numbers, right? But knowing what actually things cost, right? So if I have, meaning say I would take cost, I would take, let's say the cost of goods sold, the salesman's commission, the things that you need. So let's say like I would divide customer service by all the accounts, right? Could they handle more right now? If yes, then I have to figure out how much. So you really need to figure out how much revenue can each customer service rep handle, how much revenue can each salesman handle, how much, and that's how you'll figure it out. You'll figure out the profitability a lot easier. It means that they reverse engineer it rather than going and
So we
seeing.
have that numbers. I have a model that I already made the numbers, but those numbers in real life, if it doesn't work, like you can't say, then you
No,
have to
but that's
deal
what
with
I'm
why it
saying.
doesn't work.
That's what I'm saying. You have to go about it the opposite way and see what's actually real life feeding you. So you have, let's say, you have the payroll broken down into three, right? There's the founders, the sales reps, and then you said, I forgot what the third
Operations.
one was. Operations,
We actually have four developers as well.
developers, and operations is customer service.
It's more than customer service. There's HR, there's customer service, there's the implementation, there's taxes, tax
Right. So,
department.
so
There's
I would
multiple.
say like HR, not necessarily going to go up as you triple your revenue. Um, that like you need to figure out the customer service is right. Customer service as you go up will go up. Like
Yeah, but
and
not but that much. It goes up, but not that much. For
correct
every,
because you're
let's
not
say for every
hiring.
500 customers, you need another rep
Yeah.
because
So
our customers barely call us. They don't need much.
yeah, and again, it's a simple system. That's all. That's one of the other keys I think that you guys have advantages over other payroll companies is that let's say like for me, I don't know when the last time we called Friday support is because most of the things are simple. Like so, it's not something that I need a lot of support on. So I
Appreciate it.
think that that's a big thing. Like with ADP, you need to have your own rep. You need to, and you're on the phone with them all the time. And it's a big problem for most software companies is the customer service costs a lot. So when you reverse engineer it and say in real life, right, can they actually handle 500 accounts, right? It doesn't mean that if something happens one day, you'll be able to handle it, right? If there's something that happens, you might not be able to handle all accounts, right, with those people. But in general, on a day to day, how much can someone handle? And figuring out the costs that are variable according to the income. So customer service is variable. Salespeople are not necessarily variable because it can grow over time, but you do want if
Not
you want
true
to be
because
ambitious.
commission is whatever comes in that has to go out commission.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying that it's not variable in the sense of the actual salary. So let's say if you have one salesman.
We don't pay salaries, but commission only.
Commission only. Okay. So then, yeah, then commission only, then yeah, that is part of the variables. So you basically figure out the variable expenses, right? What goes up? Insurance does go up with more income, but not significantly, right? So there's all the different
Right.
expenses, and when you reverse engineer it into real life, that's when you can figure out a profitable plan rather than saying, "Oh, I want my customer service rep to manage 500 accounts." Might not be realistic, right? So that's really the way that I try to go about it. At least in my company, I try to figure it out always, and it always adjusts because as you grow, there's different calls that come up. So let's say, like by me, I need someone to do the actual work, and then I need someone to oversee it, right? To oversee it is, not necessarily going to be the same salary all the time. Like right now in the beginning, I have much higher salaries that I'm paying out than I will in 5 years from now for it because they're different people that I'll be bringing in. I'll have different systems in place, training process. So these are things that I think, all have to be taken into account. And you always tweak it
Right.
as you go. But really, I reverse engineer. I look at real life, what's actually happening. And then I can see something that's really bleeding. You'll automatically see, like, hey, I think customer service should be able to take care of 500. So let's say it would be 450 accounts. You're like, okay, that makes sense, right? But if you
Right.
see it's like at 250, you're like, something doesn't make sense. Here, I need to focus in. And it's sort of like what you said earlier, but it's just about going about it off separating it in that way. And operations, the payroll splitting, I'll split it out between customer service and the rest of operations because the rest of operations isn't necessarily variable. Um, but that being said, what do you think, other than breaking down the numbers, right, and getting to profit, to turn it profitable? Like, have you tried doing something to become profitable already that, like, doesn't work?
Doesn't work?
Yeah. Sometimes we try something and we're like, "Oh, this doesn't work." Not a Friday. Or you really because technically you guys are a development company, so it's like most of the initial part was not selling to customers, it was selling to investors, right? Because that's the way that software
In the
works.
beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, that you get investors and then as you grow, you obviously, get less of that and more customers in the door. And that's when the investments obviously start paying off. So when you guys might not be in the place yet where, like, when someone starts a typical company, they want to be profitable on day one, right? But not on software. And software,
Right.
it's not that
So
you don't want to be, it's just
that's
not
really the
realistic.
question. Right, you hit the nail on the top. Like, while you were talking, I was thinking, at the end of the day, we're a software company, which means is the first 3, 4 years, you're not making money, and I think that's actually the state where we're in, but that's also an easy way out to say, "Oh, we're a software company,
Right.
and now
It
there's no
doesn't mean you
testing
shouldn't
nonsense."
try. Doesn't
Huh?
mean that you shouldn't try. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't
Exactly.
try to be
So that's
profitable. But it's
exactly.
also there's like a thing that you have to go and say, should I be profitable right now? Or should I grow my company? Right? Because that's really where
Oh, we're
software
not planning
goes
to
to.
make profit distributions.
Yeah. No, no, I
Like,
understand
when I
that.
say we're gonna be profitable, I mean to say we're gonna have profits, then we're gonna take all that profits and we're gonna use it for growth. That's all we're gonna do with the
Right.
profits. We're not
Right.
taking
No,
out
but
bonuses
so
or
so
we're giving investors distribution.
yeah, but if you guys decide to develop something new that might cost you a nice amount, which
So
is
it
an
will come from the
expense,
profits.
and then it takes, yeah, but it doesn't take in on the P&L, it doesn't show up as taking from the profits, it shows up as a loss, right? Because you put in salaries, you put in all the different things. So that's what I mean. Like in software, it's very different. Like in a lot of different companies, it doesn't work that way because and software is an entirely different game because of it. It's a very interesting industry that I like to look at and see like, okay, because there's a lot of people that talk about you need to be profitable on day one. But in reality, in software, if you're profitable on day one, you're most probably not going to have a successful software company,
Right.
you know?
Well, it's
So,
changing now with AI a little bit because with AI you can vibe code an MVP. If you know a little bit development, you don't need much. Not in our industry, and you can't vibe code a payroll software, which is, by the way, is
right.
one of the cool things about our product. We're kind of AI safe. I mean, nobody's safe, but for now, we're AI safe.
Yeah.
It's like all the other softwares. QuickBooks is probably also AI safe, but it's like all these Mondays, Asana.
So actually, QuickBooks, I think, is going to have a major problem with AI. QuickBooks in itself as a software because I don't think they're built in this. There's a company called Digits, an AI bookkeeping firm that I watched. The founder talk about the difference between how he's building it and QuickBooks. And again, I'm not a software guru, so I don't really, I don't know if he's right or not. But if he's right, he basically says that the way that QuickBooks works is it's basically trying to take. Most people think of AI, think of LLMs, right? And with bookkeeping, you can't do LLMs. You need to have predictive models. And QuickBooks isn't built the way that the data is built is not built according to be able to do predictive models. So it's like it's an interesting thing to
But
check out.
why
It's
not?
something that I'm
I don't
looking into
understand. Like,
because
why
their
not?
data because their vendors are just text. So let's say if I put in Friday, software payroll is not just text. That's like an actual
You mean to say
variable. But
they don't have IDs? Like unique identifiers by each item?
Something like that. Yeah, something to do with that. And I'm not exactly sure because again,
Yeah,
I'll
whatever.
send you the video that I got for digits. It's an interesting thing, and maybe you guys can build out I would need a Friday integration there. I wanna, but
You use
so
digits for
let's
any of your clients?
no, so it's something that I'm checking out right now, and I wanna implement it if it works. Again, I'm looking right now to see.
I
I'm running some
personally hate
tests on it.
QuickBooks Online. I use QuickBooks Online for my business. It's slow, it's buggy, I don't like
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I saw
QuickBooks
someone.
Desktop is much better.
I I saw someone on LinkedIn today posted that if you're on if you're on the phone with support, always go for the high. Always ask for a supervisor because yeah, I told him unless you're speaking to Intuit, if you're speaking to Intuit, there's no one to talk. No one knows what they're doing over there. But yeah,
But the
so
truth is, it's
what's
very hard to hire bookkeepers to do customer service. Like the people need to. It's Intuit is more of a data company. Give good support, you need to be a good bookkeeper, no?
Not necessarily. I think that you need to understand the product really well, what it does and what it doesn't do well. I think one of the big problems that Intuit has is the way they roll out updates. So you might have an update that I don't have, and how are their reps supposed to really and when you do it on a small scale, I can know, okay, this update came out, but when you do it on a mass scale like that, like you don't necessarily know who's calling you, what they have, what they don't have. And I think additionally, it's just such a large company and there's so many different products over there. And they're trying to compete now in order to really fight AI. The way that the accounting software space is going is they're all trying to compete. So it used to be like there was QuickBooks for small businesses, and then there was NetSuite, and for bigger businesses, right? And more like ERPs for bigger
Yeah.
businesses. Now all ERPs are starting to compete for small business, just like the small business softwares are starting to compete for the big business softwares because so I think that's the way they're preparing for the AI, boom.
Uh-huh.
But I think that's sort of another problem that Intuit's really facing right now is that they're rolling out, they're just pushing out software and it's not necessarily ready. But that being said, if we have you on a 6 months from now, what would you want to say has changed on Friday?
Well, I would want to see where we've hired the sales team that we said we hired. We also hired marketers to help us with outbound and affiliate marketing, etc. I would also want to be in a position where these people are trained and we are ready to hire to double that team from 10, 10 salespeople to 20.
Oh
That's where I
wow,
would
so
want to be.
yeah, and again,
It's
in
very
six
ambitious.
months, yeah, in
It's gonna
six
be
months, I'm
ambitious.
not
I'm
sure.
gonna get on here in 6 months, and I'm not only gonna have hired two
You're
people,
gonna
but guess
tell me,
what?
no, I'm too
I'm
busy. I'm too
comfortable.
busy.
I'm comfortable to fail. I'm
So
not
I'll
afraid
tell
to
you,
set a big goal because I'm gonna look
I
stupid
think
and I'm
right.
gonna fail. Maybe I
I think
won't
that if you
fail.
come on and you say that you had four salespeople, most people are gonna look at you as successful, and that's really the thing. There's a lot of people that say set big goals in order because even if you fail, you end up getting you end up.
By
Me
the way, I don't
personally,
care what other people are gonna think.
the
The
thing
reason
that
why I
works
feel
for
comfortable
me,
coming here, I
yeah,
don't care what people are gonna think if I'm successful or not. I
yeah.
care what I think. Maybe I care what you think, but other than that, other than you and me, I don't care what everybody thinks.
Yeah. So I'll tell you one of the things that I personally, well, like me personally, I connect with setting very small goals. Actually, set a small goal for tomorrow and reach it. But at the same time, be ambitious with your dreams. I just make a difference between a dream and a goal, and I'm like, I dream big. I have like my vision, right? My goal, my dream of like, this is where I want to get. Like the ambitious goals, really. I just look at it as a dream. I don't look at it like whatever. And then I have like tiny little steps. How do I get there, right? How do I get there is by today not looking at that. Today, I want to look at this tiny little step that I need to take. I just need to make one little step, right? Tomorrow, another little step. All of a sudden, you find yourself, 3 months later, much further than because, first of all, you're celebrating small wins, right? Which is very important. Second of all, you actually get there and you get to a place where you don't fail like on your goals, right? I think that having that where yeah if I fail a goal it's going to destroy me because of that, right? Which might not be the best thing, but it also gives me a lot of strength in a sense to reach my goals because like I'm taking small steps and I'm reaching them and I'm successful in almost every step of the way. And I'll tell you, when I have a place in life where I feel stuck, it's one of the worst feelings for me. Like I literally start, I have an eating disorder and I worked on it with a nutritionist. I felt stuck at a certain point. I couldn't get myself to do what I had to do. Just that's when I called a therapist I used to work with. I'm like, look, we got to work on this. 3 weeks later, I was at a place where that was successful. So it's really I need to move fast and reach my goals. If not, I get very antsy. I get very I give up on them.
Yeah, I can resonate with that. I think we all are like that. We want to feel like we're growing. We want to feel like
Yeah.
we're evolving. It's in the human species by nature. We want to expand, grow, and evolve.
Yeah. So that being said, in 6 months we'll have you back on. We'll hear about how you hired not only six people, you hired, you have three new teams of salespeople, and you're profitable already. Um, so, is there a quote that you like to, that you really resonates with you and you'd like to share?
A good question. I'm not a big quote person. I'll make my own quote.
That's fine.
The thing about quotes that I don't like is it doesn't say the full picture. It's a quote from one person in one situation, and take that quote and you make that Torah B'Sina and you start following it. Relax. You're a person. You're allowed to make your own quotes and you write your own story. Of course, if something inspires you, use it. But if something
Right.
brings you down and negative, give yourself permission to let it go.
Yeah. That's very true, and I see it all the
More of
time
a
also with
statement, not a
people
quote.
that
Sorry.
yeah, no, but it's fine. It'll be quoted in 20 years from now by billionaire Hershey Goldstein. Um, it's something that's very true. Like a lot of people take things to heart. Like I was on a sales group where they were talking about this clip that went around this week of this guy that went into a car dealership and he asked the car dealership, like, he's like, "You're here to buy, you wanna, or just look?" He said, "Just look, I wanna look." And takes him outside and he, shows him, "Look, I handle this, whatever." And I found it very funny because if you look at the dealership, it's not a Lamborghini dealership. It's a cheap car dealership. No one's coming to look. Everyone's coming to buy. But the real and they just push the customer away. But the real thing that I felt like, and we were talking about it, is that not everything is a blanket truth, right? Like in business, people like to rely a lot on you hear, the Grant Cardones or whatever, they all have their statements, this is how you run business. And in reality, Grant Cardone runs a real estate firm, not a software company. You know,
Right.
you can't take his quote to heart and be like, I'm doing something wrong. No, you're
Right.
not. You have to look at yourself and another thing, as a bookkeeper, I see this all the time. You can have two plumbing companies running completely different companies and two of the same people that you would look at, they're the same industry, they can run completely different companies because of who the founder is, right? And I think that you have to take both into account: industry, founder, employees. You have to take the whole picture into account, and
Right.
really, so it is a powerful quote, and I think that people should really listen to that. It's one of the best pieces of advice you could give someone, is to not listen to all the quotes.
Right.
So that being
Especially in
said, where
today's
can
age with
people
there's so much knowledge and inspiration going around.
Yeah. And a lot of it is, I tell a lot of people, there's a lot of positivity going around to the point where some of it is toxic. I call it toxic positivity. You need some negativity too. Like we need emotions. You're allowed to feel down. You're allowed to feel, don't tell me
Right.
I always got to be happy. There was and part of my BNI group on the first meeting of the year, the president, we always finish with a quote there. She says, "This year you should be, 1 year of great luck, a year full of 52 weeks full of smiles, 365 days down to the seconds." I told her, "Please let me sleep." You know? We need a break. We can't just be happy the entire time. So so yeah, but that being said, where can people find you? And obviously Friday.
Yes, so they can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok. I have my handles usually Hershy Goldstein, HERSHYGOLDSTIN. Um, I also have a WhatsApp status for people that don't want to have social media. I'm not advertising it, but if anybody wants, I don't know. I guess I'll send you the link. You'll put it there. Um, and Friday is FridayApp.com. Check out our website. Reach out to us. We have salespeople that get very excited when somebody says, "I'm interested in payroll." go make their day, and you'll make my day as well. If you're a small business owner and you wanna have a simple and easy way to pay your team, Friday's the way to go.
Yeah, and there's a one company that I can confidently say if you're not a fit, they're not gonna accept you. So
Exactly.
I think that there's a lot of companies say it, but Friday means it, and that's one of the things that I really learned from Friday, and I try to implement in my life as well. Not everyone has to be a customer. So, Hershey, thank you
Life
so
becomes
much.
so peaceful once you have that, no? Like, not everybody's my customer, like, it's not
Yeah,
like
and you know what? It could be it's like I don't know what the official law of it is, but some people look at it like, oh, you think you're better than me, and no, I don't think I'm better than you. I just think that you could get better. You could get better than me
yeah.
sometimes, and that's really what it is. So like, there's a
Not
guy
that
recently
you're
that I
better
had
than
this
them,
with.
they are better than you.
No, they could get better than me. So
So
there's
they
better
are
than
better
me
than
out
you.
there for them. So like if
Right.
someone needs something that I can't service them with, right? I'm not better than you. You just need better than me. So it's
Right.
really, and I think it's about that being able to articulate it in that way and giving it over in that way is really going to help. And there's a guy that I told him like I once shared this with him, like he was dealing with a thing going back and forth, and I told it with a customer, and I told him like, just tell the customer to go to one of your competitors. Send him your competitor's number because they can help him better. You're gonna get a customer later on from it. And he texted me after he did it. He's like, the peace of mind I just got, it's worth all the money. And I think that that's really what it is. You end
Yeah,
up you end up being a lot more peaceful when you're not dealing with headaches and you're not chasing every single dollar that there is on the floor. You want
I
to pick
agree.
up the dollars that are for you and that you can actually service, and that's how you make an impact and make money.
I
So,
agree.
Hershey, thank you
Bring
so
it full
much.
circle.
It's a pleasure, and looking forward to the next time we do this. Have a great
Ami,
night.
thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to meet you in real life and continue the conversation.
Thank you for listening to Conversations with Ami. If this conversation was helpful, take a moment to like, subscribe, or follow the show. It helps more people find it. New episodes drop on the 1st and 15th of each month. You'll find the links in the description to support today's guests and learn more about their work. Until next time.